Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Amanda Calobrisi on the show with us. She's coming to us all the way from Rhode Island. And she's also a speech pathologist by day. And then she's also, as you can see just by looking at her, she works out then at nights then. And then she also does some online personal training. But Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what made you adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle? What really inspired you to make that change?
Well, so basically, my entire life, I was always super active. Like even when I was a kid, I guess as soon as I put on skis, I started skiing when I was 3 years old. So I always did sports all the way through high school, and I was lifted through high school. Then I got to college and I wasn't doing sports because I really had to focus on academics. And I was like, well, what's next? I needed something to kind of push me and have a goal a little bit. So I had a friend that was training someone for a bikini competition, doing it for free. So I was like, you know what? That sounds like, a way to put lifting into a competitive kind of spirit. So I did the first show ever in 2016, and it didn't go very well. But ever since then, I caught the competing bug, and that's really I've just run with it since.
That's awesome. So I always sort of like to make the analogy where if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how people got in shape, whether it comes to their nutrition, their diet plans, how many reps they do, what exercises they do. There's so many little things that add up to then amount to the way that people look like, eventually. So is that hard for you when you were starting out in the gym, sort of realizing what worked best for you specifically? Because like I said, if you were to go up and ask advice from someone, what works best for them might not work as good for you.
Right. Well, and definitely when I first started lifting, I had no idea what I was doing. Sometimes I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But, when you go to the big scary weight section for the first time after just doing only cardio, which all I did was cardio. I'd eat like a salad and cardio. And that was my whole life. So eventually, you had to make your way over to the big weights. You had to ask people what to do. That was definitely scary. And yeah, you're right. Every single person is super different. So one person that's lifting for like powerlifting is going to be lifting super heavy weights, 1 rep at a time, or someone that's going for super tone, super lean looks going to be doing tons of low weight reps. So it's hard to ask people, everyone has to have their super individualized goal, or else, you don't know what to ask.
And at what point in your transformation did you decide that you really wanted to compete? How long did it take before you finally said like, hey, I could maybe do a show?
So I did it the wrong way. I decided to do a show, and then I sort of had to. Yep. But I wasn't really ready for the first show that I did. I'm not going to lie. I didn't have a whole lot of muscle going on underneath. So when I cut down, I looked like kind of skinny. But I should have waited and done something, a couple of years later. But that's kind of where I am now. I did bikini for a few years, not being ready for it. I finally this year did my first figure show. So I feel like this was actually my first show that I did this year. And that one I was ready for it. So it took like 3 years of building muscle. So bulking and cutting, which was a little scary, gaining like 40 pounds and losing it within a year. Everyone watching me was horrified. But, I feel like it does take lots and lots of years of actually building it up, especially if you're not cheating in any way, to actually be ready for a show.
Oh, absolutely. And what was your diet like before you made the really big change, sort of competing? And how did that diet really change over time?
Yeah. So in college, I thought that I was eating healthy. I was eating about like 1,000 calories, which is not enough for the activity level I was doing. I went to UConn. So, I had to walk about 5 miles a day just to walk to my classes and everything. So even just that was burning probably more than 1,000 calories. So I remember exactly what I ate. I had like oatmeal with protein powder because I thought that's what everyone had to have. So that's a good start. But then I would have literally a salad with 2 eggs, and then I would have chicken with vegetables. And that was it for like 3 meals. And then I would eat like a bunch of candy at night. So I was like not eating enough and then just eating sugar. So it was a mess. And I was only doing cardio.
Oh, yeah. There's so many. That kind of sort of brings us on to our next topic because, it's gotten better so many times with Instagram. Over the last 5 years, it's gotten so much better. But women still have that fear, a lot of them, where if they touch one weight, they're just going to hulk out and, put on 50 pounds of muscle. Did you have that fear at all when you were getting started? And even if you didn't, you probably get that all the time. What is your main response to that?
So people definitely think that they're going to get big when they lift. It's hard to get big. I'm someone that can actually build muscle easier than a lot of people. I'm not like a lean build that just gets lean quick. I'm like I'll just bulk out if you let me. But yeah, basically you have to work at it. There's no way you're just gonna, if you don't want to be muscular, you're not gonna be. There's no way it's gonna just happen for you.
Yeah.
That's why like a lot of girls are afraid of going lifting because they're afraid of getting like big manly arms. But there's no way that's gonna just happen.
And I was gonna say, everyone, does she look like the Hulk? Does she look like Dwayne The Rock Johnson? She's been working out for 3 years. I mean, it's like, are you kidding? It's just it's just so ridiculous. It's one of those things where I always like to tell the story where when I was in college, a good friend of mine, she would always say, because that's when I really started, work out and get in a lot better shape. And she would say, Ryan, I really want to go and work out with you, but I'm just afraid that I'm going to get bulky. And then finally one night I just told her, like, the amount of weight that you carry in the purse that you carry around all the time weighs a lot more than most of the dumbbells in that gym, and you're not getting big from carrying that thing around all the time. So then it's just all about just convincing them. And then plus also, especially with women too, I mean, it's like they're not going to, it just has the testosterone level, you're just not going to be able to put on that amount of muscle that easily. So it's just, I mean, it's one of those things too. And that gives you such a great metabolism from lifting and working out that most people just don't realize. So it's like, just get in there and at least give it a try. I mean, it's like, you're not going to get huge overnight. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice. But now, as you can tell myself, I'm a really pale individual myself. So I got to ask, what was that experience like for you when you put on that tan for the first time for the shows? What did that feel like for you? Because we have so many people that are just like, yeah, everything like pops out. You see muscles that you never even knew that you had. What was that experience like for you for the first time putting that tan on?
Oh, it was crazy. I remember, we had to wait in line. I remember we got there at like 6 a.m. because it was all the day of the show for my first show. So we were waiting there. We were so tired, so hungry, hadn't eaten anything. Super pale, super disgusting. I'm the same as you normally. No, you're not very disgusting.
Oh, no problem.
But so yeah, the whole experience is actually super weird. I don't know if you've ever gotten a spray tan. For a show. No. Probably not. So I'm not the most outgoing person always, especially back then. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first show. I was like by myself. You have to go in this room with all these other girls that look amazing. First of all, everything is off. You're just out there in your sleeve, your birthday suit, and then some lady is just like super friendly. To just acts like it's like a doctor's appointment. Honestly, acts like they do this all day long. They come and spray you, and then you just have to stand there and wait, and it's really strange. And then the tan just starts to develop over the next couple of hours. So you look down at first, and you're like, oh, no, it's not that bad. But then a couple of hours later, you look down, and you literally don't recognize your own body. It's horrifying, and they don't do your face either. Which I actually now, that's a good tip. I always have them do now 1 layer on my face because I'm so pale. They on stage, my stage shots look so scary because my body was dark, but like my makeup wasn't like white, so it looked like I had like a ghost face.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, they a lot of people say don't spray your face, but I always say do like one layer and then wash it off so that you at least have a little bit of tan, especially if you have white undertones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I have seen some of those, even from some of the guys too, where like they have like a pale face, and then when they come on, it's just like it just looks a little funny. Where you just look at it, and you're like, oh, okay. But now I gotta ask, what is that experience been like? Because like you did say you did do bikini, but what was that experience like wearing those high heels and walking on stage?
So unfortunately, you still have to wear the heels for figure. So eventually next year or the year after, I'm trying to do women's physique where you don't have to wear the heels because with those heels, I'm not a heel wearing girl. Like this is my outfit that I would wear every day if I could. I don't wear heels. I don't get dressed up ever. I wear like scrubs at work whenever I can. So yeah, I honestly, walking in heels is probably one of the hardest things for me with the posing. I feel like a baby deer walking for the first time or something. Like it's a mess up there. So like the way I had to practice, every time I was in my apartment, I would just wear the heels. So I would be cooking chicken. This is what I do all day long, wearing the heels. I'd be cleaning, wearing the heels. I feel like my downstairs neighbors probably hated me, but that definitely, posing is so, so important. People don't realize, you could be the best looking person up there, but if you don't pose and, to demonstrate your angles the correct way, you're not going to win or anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like
those freaking shoes.
Yeah, well, yeah, and plus, like I always have heard and said, is that like you could be the most in shape person on the planet, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
your posing isn't down pat, I mean, you're not gonna win. I mean, it's just you just have to show off the right angles at the right time. And was
Oh,
that
yeah.
difficult for you to learn at first? Because we've heard so many people that say like the posing is the hardest thing for a lot of people. Where I mean, because it's one of those things that you can never truly perfect. You always kind of have to have it updated. You always kind of have to evolve with your posing. Was that difficult for you at first to sort of learn to pose? And what was the hardest pose for you to learn?
Yeah, definitely. Posing is something that is a huge challenge for most people. Like you said, the bikini posing for me was so hard because a lot of bikini is not just about what you look like. It's kind of your overall attitude. And a lot of those girls that win are the really sassy, like sexy kind of girls, and that is just not who I am. So trying to learn how to do those butt poses where you have to like stick your hip out
Mm.
and then like pop, like look back at the judges, like that was just like so out of my comfort zone that like I don't know. I think my first show that I did, I think I went up there, I don't know if I even posed. All my stage shots just caught me in transitions because I was like just going through them so fast because it was so scary. But now like the figure poses make a lot, personally, just for me, I'm more of a, not like masculine girl or anything like that, but I definitely like, I'm more about having big muscles.
Mm.
So those figure poses make a lot more sense where you're showing like
Mm.
specific muscles versus, I
Yeah.
have a butt or something. But I'm not knocking bikini at all because those girls are amazing and I wish I had that sass. I'm not gonna
Oh
lie.
yeah. I
I
wish
should get
I wish I had
in
that
a
sass
bottle.
too. Yeah, I wish I had that sass too. So don't. Yeah. So
You
no
got a
worries.
little sass.
I got a little sass. Yeah, I know. But some of those things. Yeah, like I see some of them and I was like, oh my god. Yeah. I mean, for me, if I ever walked out there though, I'd have like fireworks shooting off in the background. I'd have
Yeah.
I'd have it all set up. But unfortunately, they don't let you do that. But now I gotta ask, because probably my most popular question that I ask all of my guests that I have on, whether they be up and coming musicians or they be health and fitness people, is what is that feeling like for you when you're on stage? I mean, because like you've dieted down, you've trained your butt off for months on end just to get ready for the show. What is that feeling like for you when you get to walk on stage and show off all of that hard work that you've worked months upon months for?
It's once you finally get to be comfortable enough to actually enjoy being on stage, it's the best feeling ever. I did one, two, three bikini shows before this year, before I actually did the figure show where I finally placed it and like did well. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even think I enjoyed being on the stage those other years because I wasn't ready. If you're not ready and you don't feel like you all that hard work actually amounted to the right thing, it's actually pretty discouraging. But this year, finally, like my favorite moment from the show, I remember I was only in second call out, so it wasn't even, this was for one, like the open class, so there's a lot of girls in it for figure. I wasn't even in the top six for this one. I was like number 7, but I was the middle, right in the dead center of the second call outs for the entire comparison part. So that's like where you want to be. Like if you were first place, that's where you'd be standing too. I remember just standing there, like just feeling like, oh, this is the best moment of my entire life. Everyone's looking at me. My mom's friend, Cheryl, who's this really awesome lady, she's a fitness instructor. I could hear her voice. She was like, "Go, Amanda!" But I just remember standing right in the middle and just being like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This is great." And all my stage shots, like I actually have like the most genuine smile I've seen myself make in like a really long time. So I had some like life stuff happen during this prep, and I was like, "Okay, everything's gonna be fine." Like right in that moment, it
Oh,
was great.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And like I always like to tell people, it's like whether it comes to, like performing on stage or like in a band or just doing something like this, people need to experience something like that, I think, at least once in their
Yeah.
lives, because I mean, you do feel so alive. It's just one of those things. And it's kind of like for me too, when I was talking to you before, I mean, my thing was baseball pitching, because I mean, it's
Yeah.
just me and the batter and the catcher basically, and it's just no one else. So it's just, you got to experience one of those things, because it really does make everything seem to be worthwhile. But now
Mhm.
probably our most popular question is, what is your go-to meal to have after a show?
Oh God. So I basically adopted the seafood diet after the show, where I saw some food and then I ate it. No, no, seriously though, it was a mess. I definitely, that is something that I'm gonna have to work on better next time. Not like eating so much that you feel uncomfortable that next day after the show.
Mm.
But this year I'm gluten free because I'm actually allergic to gluten, not because I just feel like it. But I made these really really good gluten free brownies that had gluten free chocolate covered pretzels and gluten free Oreos and gluten free cookie dough and something else. I think potato chips. I just like anything I wanted during prep. I put them in those brownies, And then me and this one girl I met at the show, I didn't even know, we like ate the whole pan together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And the question that I love to bring up more than anything else is because so many people that I talk to, they don't realize that when you guys go on stage, the look that you guys have, it's not a sustainable look. Through all of the dieting and through all of the exercising, I mean, you've gotten to a certain leanness that isn't sustainable, because I've had so many people come on and they're like, "Oh, some of these people that you interview, like they must be jacked and ripped like 365 days out of the year." And it's like, nope. If you look at most of them when we're having, it's like that look is definitely not sustainable. But what are some ways that you mentally sort of prepare yourself for the fact that when you're on show day, you're like, this is the best I'm going to look for a while. I mean, I am going to have to put on weight, unfortunately. It's just I'm just not going to be able to keep it off. What are some ways that you sort of mentally prepare yourself just so that you don't like go crazy and just think like, oh my God, I'm going to get fat and stuff like that?
Yeah, it definitely is really, really hard, mentally. I feel like a lot of people shouldn't compete. If you have any sort of like body image problems, which I mean, everyone has, obviously, if you compete, probably we all do. But if you have any sort of like low self-esteem from how your body looks, I would say competing is a horrible thing, because the yo-yoing back and forth, it's a lot. But I kind of go with how I'm feeling the day of the show. Like, you feel great just because, it's all your hard work has happened, but you're mentally, like physically, you're feeling like crap pretty much, because peak week usually is the week right before the show is pretty bad. You're not eating much besides like asparagus and fish. Once you start eating after the show and you start, you have that day or two of like eating everything that you want, and then you get back on track because you actually want to, and you start eating a little bit more food and able to see like, oh, your strength comes back in the gym. I feel like personally for me, I don't care as much about having like an extra ab or like being able to see like every striation in your arm, because your strength's actually coming back. So like I'm super into being able to lift like more than any other girl in the gym, hopefully, and then like maybe like two guys in the gym. But so I think I wish I could look like that all the time, but I know that you can't be as strong as you can be and look at like that at the same time. So it's more about, the physical performance for me.
And now here's when you embarrass most of the people that listen on the show. What are some of your best lifts that you do in the gym?
Oh, my best lifts? All right, well, let's see. So, I wish I could bench more. I don't bench like anything, so I can't even tell you that. But I deadlifted, I didn't deadlift for a couple of weeks at the end of the show. So I did the other day for my first time back. I did 265 for 10. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think I could have put more. I definitely could do more for less. So that was cool. I like skinned knees to prove it. But
ooh, yep.
And then let's see. I should be able to squat more. I feel like I did like 215 for like 10 the other day.
That's still really good. So there's always everyone that comes on, they always have one body part that like really, really is just good naturally for them. So are your legs that? And then what is one body part that you've really had to work really hard to sort of catch up to everything else?
So my triceps are actually my favorite. I don't know if you can see them in the camera, but not under all this post-show bulk, but triceps and like my quads. I played field hockey in high school. Yeah. So pretty much you were just squatting while you were running for 5 hours. Yep. So like I've always been sort of a quadzilla. So quads and triceps have always been easy for me. I personally like struggle with like losing weight, and in certain areas like my abs, I've never had like the most cut up 6-pack, and that's my goal for this show. Not to look like ridiculous or anything, but to come in much more conditioned, because I can put on, if you like let me eat and like let me lift, I can just like blow up and I can be like a Hulk. But the cutting down definitely is really hard for me.
Yeah, that's one of those things too that people don't realize, just the cutting down, some of the stuff that I can do to your body to go down to those extremes. So you really got to be careful of that. That's what I say to a lot of people that we have on. But now going on to probably my two favorite questions that I'm going to ask anyone on the show is, first of all, I mean, when I started getting bigger and stronger in college, probably the one negative thing for me is that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. Yeah. I mean, every time, I'm still at home with my parents for the next few months. So every time my parents come home with dinner or food, I'm the one who's always got to bring it into the house. Have you found that just because, the way that you look and people see you, that they just assume that you can do favors for them when it comes like moving furniture, opening pickle jars? Have you found that to be a similar experience?
Oh, definitely. I feel like, anytime my mom needs any help or something brought up from the basement, she's like 60, so she really shouldn't be doing that anyway. But, it's assumed that I would be doing it because, oh, well, you lift so much, you should be able to lift this. Like, awkwardly shaped box that no one can lift. Like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, sure, put a barbell on it, I got it. But I feel like mostly think that happens like most days is people like make fun of you for being so muscular. Like, so I think some of my guy friends are not intimidated, but just like, whatever. So like whenever I like if I like, pat them like, hey, like you stop that, they're like, oh my God, you feel so strong. I feel like it's more of the like patronizing, like,
Yeah.
oh, you lift, like you have like one shoulder muscle, like good for you. Like, yeah. But no.
Yeah, we get that a lot. And it's just one of those things where it's just I've come to realize where like for me during the summer every weekend it's like, Ryan, can you help me like move some stuff? Where I just came to realize that like people do recognize that like you put in a lot of hard work in the gym. So I mean it's got to a point where I've accepted it. Probably my favorite question to ask is, and again, this is a multi-million-dollar idea for anyone out there, but when it comes to fit women in clothes, they aren't that many clothing options for women with muscles. I mean, like I always like to say, if you have really big shoulders, dresses are sort of out of the picture for you.
Yeah.
Jeans are another big thing that we hear that's, it's almost non-existent where you got to get special stuff. What are some ways that you sort of compensate for the fact that your clothing options are limited?
Yeah, so that's why I wear gym clothes most of the time. I feel the most comfortable in them because they're made for people that have a certain, athletic body type. Like last night, I was going out on the town for like the first time in a while with some of my friends because everyone's home for Thanksgiving. But I had like jeans on. I never wear jeans, and they're just so uncomfortable because my legs and my like glutes are bigger than like my waist is, so like feels terrible. So I ended up taking them off and putting like yoga pants on, and then just like being like whatever. Like my friends are gonna be friends with me regardless. Yeah. So there's a couple of brands. This like I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but there's this one brand I found on Amazon. They're like Brazilian pants. I forgot what the brand was, but they're a Brazilian company, and maybe I don't know if Brazilian girls just have maybe a more athletic kind of body type or something like that.
We've had a couple of them on, and I think I can agree with that.
Yeah, like some nice big booties and stuff like that, but like still a smaller waist. Pants, they fit like perfectly, and they're like those are like the only real pants I could never wear. But yeah, dresses like I hate anything that's straight because I'm not straight down. Like my lats go like this on a good day, but like any tight shirt you can't wear because you'll accidentally rip out of it. Not that I'm huge or anything, but compared to the normal 5 foot tall, 110-pound girl.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's another big thing is that a lot of people, especially some of these people who just might think that like a lot of these women that we have on here might be like intimidating or whatever. It's like most people don't realize they're not like 6 feet tall. They're not like 250 pounds. So like I'm 6'3" myself, and so that's just so one of these things. Like when I meet some of these people in the gym, it's like, oh, that's not intimidating at all. I mean, it's like I'm like a foot and a half taller than some of these people that like I have on the show. So I was like, oh yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things too. It's all about just like with bodybuilding itself. A lot of it's an illusion too, where just the photos that they take on Instagram. Like I've had so many people where it's like, what's the biggest misconception that people usually don't get about you when they meet you in person is that people are like, oh, that I'm actually so much smaller in person than what I look like in my photos.
Right. People say that to me all the time. They meet me. They're like, I just made a Tinder the other day because I just got out of a relationship. And like, I saw this person in real life. They're like, oh my God, you're so much shorter than I thought. Like, I didn't put anywhere that like I'm under 5 feet tall.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, like I said, like I have a funny story. So I had a friend who, not the same friend that I was already talking about that I convinced to go in the gym, but she was like 5'1" ish, I think. But in the gym, and on a good day, I'd say she was probably 5'1". I don't know. I think she was rounding up a little bit, but when we were in the gym, since me being so tall, sometimes one day I remember that we all the pull-up machines were taken that they have at the gym that I was in, and then she's like, I have an idea, and then she's like, put your arm out. So then she's basically used my arm as like it's like a human pull-up bar. So like tall people and short people can coexist in the gym peacefully and figure out exercises to do. So I mean, I always love telling stories like that because we figured stuff out where it was like since she was so short and I was so tall, we kind of figured out personal exercises to do when everything was being taken up. I love to always tell stories like that. But now going back to sort of now I like to talk a little bit about, you're also a speech pathologist, and you're the first speech pathologist that we've ever had on the show. Could you sort of go over what inspired you to get into that field and sort of what you do for that?
Yeah. So basically, what a speech pathologist is, there's tons of different places you can work. You can work in a hospital, and that's with patients that have either had, a stroke or after surgery, because they deal with, either, your speech coming back if you lost it during a surgery, or actually the same muscles that you use for speech, you use for swallowing. So they actually cover, when you can eat certain textures of food again, whether you're safe to eat or if you have to, have that gross thickened liquid. That's all speech therapy. But I work with kids because I love kids so much because they're super fun and keeps you awake and interesting during the day. So I actually do birth to 3. So I work with all kids under 3 years old, so all babies. And I'm one of the autism specialists at my job. So I have all kids that are either on the spectrum diagnosed or probably on the spectrum. But it's super fun because I actually used to be a music major back in the day too. I've like many facets. But so I use a lot of, kind of music therapy kind of approaches combined with speech therapy to, get the kids to learn the best way that they can. But how did I get into it? I didn't know what I was doing when I went to college. I was 17 when I went to college because I was super young. Yeah, so I was like super young. I didn't know what was happening. I went away to school in New York originally for music. I was music and neuroscience because I didn't know what was happening.
That's a great combo.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe I'll be a music therapist. And then I was like, oh, now that I'm doing music, I hate it. Like when I was studying it, I'd maybe not enjoy it anymore. It's just too analytical and I just want to have fun. So then I dropped the music, was just neuro. And then I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to be a neuroscientist because I'd like to talk to people. I'd rather not just be in a lab all day. So then I added education. And then I just was like, I need to go to a big state school with more options because I'm getting too specific. So then I transferred and I took one speech therapy class and I loved it. So I just kind of went with it. And I feel like that's how everyone has found speech therapy. That's my friends. They took one intro class, was like, wow, this is combining everything like communication, science, education, all in one. It was, I like it so far.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, and working with kids, I mean, that's got to be a great feeling for you. I mean, I work at UPS and I'm the boss of about a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds. That's the complete opposite. But it has its perks. But yeah, working with kids and plus helping out kids with like autism too. That must just be so fulfilling for you too. Just to be
very rewarding. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now, before we get to our audience favorite and my personal favorite, the questionnaire, I brought up a topic before. She's from Rhode Island. And I told her that I'd mentioned a fun thing about me that's connected with Rhode Island. So I am actually, I've known this before. We did like our, we did like our DNA testing online, but we've always known this, that I am a direct descendant of Roger Williams, the guy that found Rhode Island in like the 1600s or something like that. Yeah, and they named Providence after him. I think his nickname was, or that was one of the things that he wanted it to be named. So then they named that town after him. And then like my grandpa's from Rhode Island, but then they moved to, I'm in Minnesota, so then they moved here when he got married. But yeah, so it's just, we have a lot of history over there. So when she said Rhode Island, I was like, hey, maybe the smallest and most insignificant state in the country, but hey, we got something with it. Yeah, well, yeah, not to us. Yeah, not to us. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Roger Williams is everywhere. There's the Roger Williams Zoo, Roger Williams Park, Roger Williams Highway. Literally, I see that name like 15 times a day. So now I'll think of you every time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So yeah, I always like to, because like most people don't know who that is, and they're like, oh yeah, and I was like, well, yeah, it's a small state, so most people. But yeah, now that we have someone on who actually can appreciate that name, we really. So now we go to our audience favorite, my personal favorite part of the podcast, the little questionnaire where I'm going to ask Amanda here about a dozen or so questions and see how she stacks up to all the other health and fitness guests. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song at the moment?
Oh, let's see. What have I been listening to recently? I've been, like I said, I just gone through a little bit of a breakup, so I've been listening to very angry music.
Adele?
So going back to my, no. Going back to like emo middle school, like Seether, that type of stuff, and like Breaking Benjamin. I'm just like painting my eyes black and listening to that and just like listening angrily. It's been great.
We had a band on that opened for Seether a couple of years ago. Yeah, they came on and they were talking about that. That was really, really cool to have on. I could send you the link for that because that was really amazing. I mean, like they met them and they hung out with them, and that was I mean, that's one of those experiences too. Where I'm more of an old school where I got have like my Metallicas and my Iron Maidens.
Yeah, that's good too.
But I have a problem where like I'm lucky. Where at my house we have a little gym downstairs that I use probably like 75% of the time. But when I go to a regular gym, I like to wait for the beat to drop when I'm playing music. So like I'll give you examples. Like if I'm doing like lat pull downs, I might like be like this for like 30 seconds waiting for the beat to drop, and then people like walk up to me and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like you're sitting there, I was like, "I'm waiting for the beat to drop so I can like get it down perfectly." So that's one thing. I mean, I sometimes like it's like I only want to start the song when it's like at the beat or the part. So I
do the rowing machine. I always like make sure I have a song that like goes right to the beat, or else I'd go crazy. I don't know how you could do it off the beat.
Yeah,
It's like crazy
I do the
insane
same.
people that do that.
I do the same thing. I was doing Rose about a week ago too, and I was, you got to get a song too. Or the one thing too is that I hate where I usually got to find like one song that can last like 5 or 6 minutes because that's how long my sets last for there. So I was like, I don't want to have a different set come or a different song come during the set. So you got to find usually longer songs. That's a huge one for me. But now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could work out with any celebrity, who would it be?
Oh, probably The Rock.
Yep.
Because he's humongous, and I just love watching people. This sounds so creepy, but like watching strong people lift weights is just the coolest thing ever. So you know how much work someone's put into to actually be able to get that strong.
Oh, yeah.
So I always think like, God, if I can lift this much and I work this hard, how could they? Oh my God, that he just has put so much time and probably some steroids or something. But, so much effort into that. Like I just thought it was so amazing.
Yeah, like I always say, like that the performance enhancing stuff. I mean, you still have to put in the work, but it's just it helps out. But it's just but like
it's probably more work.
Oh yeah, and
they have to because their ceiling of threshold of where they can get to is higher, so they got to keep working. I know that's always part of competing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, but just like another thing too with that is that people don't realize though also that so many of these people that look huge might not be the strongest people.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of these guys that are like super, super huge, I mean, they might not even be able to bench press like 250 or whatever, even though they look like they could bench like 500 pounds. So it's just, that's why I do really appreciate, especially seeing strong people in the gym as well. And the best for me are those deceptively strong people. Like I've seen, we have a woman at our gym who's like 4'11" and she's a power lifter, and she would never, she doesn't look like she has a ounce of muscle on her. Like she weighs like 100, she might weigh in the 90s. Like she's really, really small, but she's benching like 150 pounds. And then people are like, oh, that's crap.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where I was like, okay, this made my day the first time she came in. So I was like, I even walked up to her and I was like, dude, that's so awesome. I was like, you just made a great story for me to tell my friends the rest of the day. Be like, you can't believe what I saw in the gym today. So yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. Like, certain people, can build muscle easier. I feel like, and if she just isn't lifting for aesthetic reasons, like there's definitely ways to lift that'll make your muscles look bigger and like different techniques and wearing resistance bands or anything, blood flow restriction band, all these different things. If your goal isn't to have big muscles, you're not going to probably you're not just going to occur. But yeah, you can be strong and not look it. It's
absolutely
very confusing.
And it gets confusing too because then you're like, okay, how do I even know like if I'm doing good, if I look good, and then I can't? It's just one of those things too where it's a lot of trial and error. But now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could train any celebrity, who would it be?
Ooh, let's see. I've never thought about this before. Oh, you know what? She popped into my head because she's got such nice arms. And that's such a thing. Michelle Obama has those beautiful Michelle Obama arms. So I would like to make them even better.
Yeah.
That would be my country duty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Those arms go.
Well, then another person too that I always think about is like Kelly Ripa or someone like that.
Oh yeah.
And when you look at her and then you're like, okay, yeah, she works out a lot, but she doesn't do like the real work. Like that's another big pet peeve of mine is these celebrities who they'll be posting like, oh my God, getting ready for a movie role or whatnot, and they're curling like 2-pound dumbbells. And it's no, that's not how you do it. And then next thing like 6 weeks later, they look just an insane amount. They just look super lean, and it's like you're lying to people first of all on how you got to look like that, and then it promotes this negative image where people think that then that's what they have to do then to look like that. Right. So it's just that's just a whole different pet peeve for me. But for me personally, the guy, I mean, I'd probably do like a Kevin Hart, but the only problem with that would be
he's so awesome.
The only problem with that would be we're not going to be able to get a workout in because he'd be so funny. I mean, it would be the best ab workout of all time, but that's about as far as we would go. So,
that's awesome.
So now, what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
Ooh. I mean, I eat a lot of salad because I really am all about eating as much of something as you can, especially during prep. So if you want to eat like 15 of something, you really can't do much of that unless it's pieces of lettuce. So I'm like super obsessed with arugula because I'm really fun and I get out a lot. So I always have arugula in my fridge. Usually like every time I go to the store, I get an extra box of them. So I usually have like 5 or 6 in there. It's a little crazy.
Please don't tell me don't tell me you're that person who, when they do go out to bars, you have like the arugula with you and you're just like snacking on it.
I used to, like when we'd all be watching a movie, I would like spinach and eat it out of the bag. Like chips. Everyone's like, no, it's not. But no, during like real life, which is, prep is like, it is pretty much real life for me now. I pretty much have changed the way I eat. I don't just I try not to just eat like an asshole anymore, but sometimes it happens. But I always have, almond butter, and peanut butter. That always in my fridge. But during prep, I can't have it. That's some of my things I have to cut myself off, or else I'll have a little tablespoon, and then I'll have a little tablespoon more. I'll just put my finger in the jar, and it gets out of control real fast.
So now you're just basically you're basically trying to put off that, hey, my name's Amanda and I like to party vibe.
Yeah, yeah, I'm Amanda. I like arugula. Sometimes I'm wild and almond butter. Hello, still single.
That's awesome. I mean, we've had so many. One of the big things that I never realized was a lot of our answers too have been mustard, especially for some of the bodybuilders, because
yeah, I do always have mustard and hot sauce.
See, I was a mustard guy when I was 2 or 3 years old, but then I've switched sides from ketchup ever since then. Now whenever I have corn dogs or hot dogs, I always got to just have the ketchup. I don't have mustard, but yeah, because I never knew that mustard was super low in fat and almost 0 calories. That bodybuilders use that because that's basically the only flavoring that they can put on their chicken or their rice or anything else that they use. So yeah, that's definitely a huge thing that I've learned. But now, other than being short, which is probably the answer that I get most popular for this next question, but if someone who follows you on Instagram were to meet you in person, what would be probably the biggest shock that they would get if they met you in person?
I feel like the way that you portray yourself on Instagram, you don't actually know anything about me. I'm I'm super sarcastic usually, and I make puns as much as I possibly can. It's out of control. I literally just snuck one in there. You probably didn't even notice.
Oh, no, she's been doing it all podcast. I was like, yeah, I like her. I was like, I like her attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say the way I post on Instagram, some of them you can see a little bit of me shining through, but I try to keep it generally more professional, because I'm trying to get more online personal training clients, and I'm trying to make that just my fitness related thing. But yeah, so in person, I'm not intimidating at all. I'm super friendly and nice, even though at the gym, I don't make friendly, nice faces apparently. But yeah, I'm just super silly and like to have fun.
That's another thing too that I don't get, where sometimes when people say that about people, they're like, you don't make a good face when you lift. It's that's what you're supposed to. I mean, it's you're not supposed to be smiling all the time when you're benching. You're not supposed to be oh, hey, Greg, how's it going? No, yeah. You're not doing it right if you're doing that. So that's just a whole other thing. And then also, that's why I love having people from Instagram on the show, because we get to see kind of what the real personality is, what they're really like as people, because you see all these people and then you're they can't be like that in real life. And then you meet them and you're oh, okay, that's great. That's great to know. Just because, I mean, it's all about, busting a lot of things. And I mean, it's just I absolutely love having people like you on the show. I mean, it's so great. And now going back to our questionnaire, what was the last TV show that you binge watched?
So I've been watching. This is so weird. Everyone that I've told that I do this is you have you're a masochist. You have a problem. So during prep, or whenever I'm doing prep, I do a lot of cardio, fasted cardio in the morning. So I watched the Great British Baking Show, all of the seasons, while I was doing cardio all through prep, and I watched.
That's just torture. That's cruel. Why would you do that?
I'm not sure. Everyone's why? And I watched it while I was eating too. So I think it was almost like watching porn. Super weird. Yep. So I was I want to be eating that. Yep. I want to be doing that, but I'm eating this, and it just kind of was
those. Yeah.
Oh, it was motivating. It pushed me to do the cardio so I could go eat my sad, little bowl of porridge, whatever. But yeah, so that's the last time I watched.
Yeah, those things, I got to be careful with those too, because even last night, I mean, watching those how it's made ones where they show the candy, how that stuff is made. I was watching the candy cane one last night. Oh my God, that's
getting in the Christmas spirit.
Well, no, I was just looking. So I started looking up, because a friend of mine is a professional chef, and he made those chocolate crystals. I don't know if you've ever seen where they put the chocolate, and they put it at a certain temperature, and they put it in a freezer, and then they do some stuff to it where then it comes out and it's purple crystals they can look but they're pure chocolate. Cool. Yeah, it's amazing. So he started making those, and I looked that up, and then that sort of sent, everyone knows the internet where you can jump into that rabbit hole, and then next thing you know, you're looking up how to make jawbreakers, or how they make jawbreakers, and then you get into candy canes, so that's just a whole different thing. But yeah, my favorite part of the year is I love watching those Halloween wars that they have on the Food Network, where they make those cakes, or even now they have the Christmas wars, where I don't really get into that as much, because I mean the designs aren't as cool as the Halloween ones, but yeah, just I mean those things things make me drool, and it's, you know, I tend not to watch it so much because then I'm like, I want to go out and buy cake right now. So
right. Nothing ever tastes as good as those things look. That's what I've noticed. Anytime I go out to like a bakery or something and I like buy something that's like, oh, I'm so excited for it. I think I get too hyped up about it. And it's just like, it's always like, nah, it's all right.
Although,
like, I want that on that show.
Although I will say I do live in Bloomington, Minnesota, so I live in the town where the Mall of America, the biggest mall in the country, is. So they did have that. They did have the Cake Boss place opened up a store there, and I do have to say those cupcakes were as good as they look on those shows, though.
Oh man! All right, well, if I'm ever in Minnesota, I'll make sure
those Buddy's cupcakes were unbelievable, and then they had the croissants too that I had on were just yeah, but man. Yeah, and then they had those guys come in for like the opening weekend, and I got to meet him or whatever. He was a really nice guy, so that was a really, really cool experience. But now going back to our questionnaire, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
I would have to say probably Friends, just so that's the one I've watched the most. Yes, Parks and Rec, that was pretty amazing. Or you know what? It changes like week to week, but I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia too. So I really like just like super funny, like ridiculous shows. But yeah, so I quote It's Always Sunny probably more than any other show, just because, you know, whenever I'm bulking, I like to say I'm cultivating mass, like mass.
Yep.
You know, I want people to fear me. That's what I'm going for. I want them to walk to the other side of the street.
That's what I always used to. I used to say that in college so many times when people were like, you put it on ways like, this is mass. This is mass. Yeah, I'm cultivating. Yeah. So, have you watched the new season at all?
I am super behind. I haven't watched past, you know, the one where they do the escape room.
Yeah.
I'm only up there. So
I love it when Matt got in really good shape now and then no one even pays attention to it. Where he's like, he takes a straw and everyone's
looks really good right now.
Yeah. Where like he takes a straw and everyone's like, oh, cool, Mac. Why don't you just like sit down? And he's like, yeah, he does this all the time. He'll get fat. He'll get really skinny. We don't know really what to do with him, but we love him either way. Yeah. So that's, but I do love the actor who played Mac had one of the best ever posts on Instagram where he talked about where he was like, guys, people don't realize how easy this was to get into good shape. All I had to do was I had to make sure to get 10 hours of sleep every night. I had to work out 3 hours a day, and I had to watch whatever I ate, or I couldn't eat anything past 7 o'clock. I had to get the studio to pay for a personal trainer for me to work with 6 times a week. Guys, it's so easy. Anyone can do it. He was being sarcastic, of course. I mean, it's like people don't realize, you know, what the amount of work and effort that it takes in order to look like that. So I thought that was really cool. Then people realize, like, hey, for these guys that really get into good shape, I mean, it's not like they can't just like snap their fingers and then they're like that. So
yeah, people definitely are always like, so what's the secret? Like, what did you do? Like, how did you make such a, because I had like, I posted some pretty crazy transformation pictures from like, especially from the bulk to like the cut. You know, it's like literally diet and exercise and getting enough sleep. I've been super posting about like sleep and stress because I didn't realize how like stressed out I was. It was affecting like weight loss and everything like that too. But yeah, no, like, there's no magic pill, unfortunately.
Yet.
Even like the magic pills that are out there, like they're not really magic pills. You're still like, oh my God, you have to literally put the work in, and it is so hard. You just have to put whatever you're, you know, everyone's the same amount of time in a day. I feel like most of my friends, like, I don't have time, but I'm like, oh, didn't you go out for drinks after work last time? Like, well, I was at the gym. So it's kind of like whatever you put your priority is.
Although that does make me hate like those genetically gifted people that just automatically just look. I mean, I hate more. I mean, I don't hate them, but like I am more jealous of
you can hate them.
Any people on the well, yeah. Just like I had a friend too. Guy has never touched a weight in his entire life, and he's more muscular than some of the people that I have on this show. Never even touched a weight. He just eats, and he can eat whatever he wants. Like his metabolism, he has in a day sometimes he'll have like 5 Milky Ways, and he's, you know, just fine.
Man, yeah, I would immediately. It goes like
I want to punch him in the face so many times.
The next morning on my legs, like if I eat badly, it's crazy.
And he'll have milkshakes too, and I'm just like, dude, I hate you so much. Like I hate. And he's like, yeah, I know, blah blah blah. But then I was like, I pray every night that like when he's 30, it all catches up to him.
Yeah,
and then
I was gonna say it'll catch up to him.
Hopefully
he'll be like an old man, and he's just gonna go.
Hopefully, because like I said, my dad's best friend in college, who I still, you know, we still visit his house every once in a while. He's just like that too, where he's just one of those guys who can eat whatever he wants, and he's just in amazing shape. I just don't understand it. It makes me want to give up on weight training. Just like seeing all these people
like that too. Actually, it's so frustrating. He's like the most unhealthy person ever, and he's always so lean, and he like not that he looks very muscular or anything, but it's like, how does this happen? Like, why am I like this and why are you like that? But
yeah, absolutely. And
everyone's got, he might want to be more muscular. Everyone wants to change something about themselves.
And you did mention that Friends is probably your favorite. And I got to mention that in 2 weeks, we are having Ross's first wife, the lesbian Carol. She's coming on the podcast because
awesome.
I've been emailing her for like the last 2 months. She started a charity and I said, you can come on and talk about the charity. And she said, absolutely. But then I said, you do realize though, half the questions are going to be Friends questions though. And she goes, yeah, yes. I get that all the time. No worries. So I've been coming up with like the 30 to 40 best Friends questions. I'm just going to throw them at her as soon as it comes on. And I'll send you the link to that too when that gets done because everyone wants to see that. And I'm just so excited to have her on just because
definitely be watching.
to get an outside story, to get the inside story about Friends. I mean, that's just, to be on a show that was that famous, I don't know how that changes you like as a person. So I just, that's just one of my, I'm just looking forward to that so much. But now, what is a guilty pleasure movie that you enjoy?
Let's see, guilty pleasure. I'm trying to think. And my favorite movie is Anchorman.
Ooh.
I used to like to turn the sound off and see if I could quote the whole movie. I guess that's not really.
How many times do you ever do in the gym where you do the 1001, 1002, and then when someone
I don't know if you heard me.
It's a deep burn in my upper leximus lentissimus or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, the burn is so deep. Yeah. So, but I guess that's probably not a guilty pleasure. I love Christmas movies. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure. I've already watched probably 5 or 6 before Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah. And I really like Santa Claus. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I watched it the other day, and then once it was over, I watched it again. I don't know. It's just like something about that nostalgic Christmas childhood time. Like,
absolutely. I haven't seen the Santa Claus in a long time because
you should watch it.
When it comes to Christmas movies, I like those old school, like those like clay, like Santa Claus is coming to town, like those type of movies.
Yes, like Rudolph.
Like Year Without a Santa Claus. Yeah, like those type of movies. Those used to be on all the time when I was growing up, and so those are my favorite. Where like Santa Claus is coming to town is my favorite, and then like I'll watch like the Rudolph or the Frosty the Snowman, like all those old animation ones where I'll go, or the old Grinch, the original like 1960s Grinch is.
I love that one. Oh, I like the new Grinch, but the old one, it's just classic.
Did you see the new Grinch in theaters? The new one?
Is there a new one?
Yeah, remember it's released. It's in theaters right now. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like an animated version where it's I forgot who does it, but yeah, the Jim Carrey one is great too. We watch that usually around. We'll watch that, or we'll watch like Christmas Vacation or Christmas Story. One of those is just. I mean, there's so many good holiday movies, or we'll watch like Home Alone. But yeah, that's. I mean, we just absolutely love. But my guilty pleasure movie. All of my guy friends, close your ears. Don't listen to this. Princess Bride.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yeah. That's my ultimate
date. That's not even a guilty pleasure. That's like the coolest, like cult movie.
But like when people think about it, they tend to think like it's more of a girly-ish movie. But like I love that movie. Like that's one of those movies where I was typing my thesis paper in college, and that movie came on, and I stopped typing my paper for 2 hours to watch it. I mean, it's one of those movies, and like you said, Anchorman, you can turn off the sound, and then you can quote it. For me, that's Goonies, because I've watched Goonies probably about 500 times as a kid. It got to the point where it's a fun party trick. We're at parties. Some of my friends go, okay, someone go up to Ryan and quote, like just start asking him for a scene in Goonies, and I can just quote the entire scene. Then like once they start, like they tell me what part it's at, and then I just start. Yeah, it got to a point where me and my brothers ruined our VHS copy of it because we watch it so many times.
Wow.
So
that's commitment right there. I have like a movie that I've never seen that I always use as when we play Never Have I Ever. I'd be like, I've never seen The Notebook, and now I can't on principle.
Thank God.
So, yeah, most people are obsessed with like that type of movie. I'm like pretty anti like mushy love, which is kind of weird. I don't know, but yeah. So my anti guilty pleasure is that I have not seen The Notebook, and I won't ever.
Yeah, I'll enjoy like a Titanic or something like that, but that's about as far as I go. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Titanic's good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then now going back to our questionnaire, what is one thing that you would die to have if it went up for auction?
Ooh. I really would like a hot tub. I know that's probably not even a big ticket item, but right now I'm just thinking like I'm kind of cold. It's probably freezing in where you are. Oh my God, here it's not that cold, but it's like probably 40 or 20 or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 25 last night, and then today it's.
I jumped in the ocean the other day here, but because I did a turkey trot.
Now you're gonna love this though. But my next door neighbors, all of them on my backside, all three of them have hot tubs back to back to back, and they all give me the keys to them. So like whenever I want to use them, I just go over and I can use them. But yeah, a hot tub is definitely one of those things that I would love. So now,
or like a big boat or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I guess if there's no limit, I mean, yeah.
Like you're talking to someone from Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. So yeah, boat all the time. I would or jet skis.
Lakes out there.
Oh yeah, or a jet ski too. I mean, like I said, if you take anyone who's depressed or anxious, put them on a jet ski, there's no way that they'd ever. I mean, that's the ultimate cure for anything.
So fun.
Oh yeah, the best. So now, what is one thing that you would get, or what is one thing that you wish that you had known when you were 18 that you know now?
Oh, jeez. I think that's, could get pretty deep, but I guess, basically things that seem like they matter when you're 18 and in the moment, you won't even remember what you were going through at that time. I remember like things that were the biggest deal. And I was like, what other people thought of you. Honestly, like none of that matters now. I feel like I wish I'd known. Just be a good person and be true to yourself, and then everything will work out in the end.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
That's just one of those things too that I've learned so much from doing this podcast. Is just be nice to people, and people are generally nice people. And if you're nice to them, they'll be nice back. And if you help out others, they'll help you out. It's all that give and take. And mine would be, I was such a people pleaser back in the day. I mean, if you can't believe that already, but so like just learning that like you're not going to be able to please everyone. So it's just realize that there is a limit. But now, if there was one thing that you could change about the sport of bodybuilding, what would it be?
I wish there were a little bit more firm, like judging criteria. I feel like there's so much. I mean, I crossed over too, but there's so much crossover between the categories. So if you're ready for bikini and you're ready for figure, what is the exact difference and what are they actually looking for? I know like a lot of girls, Sasha included actually, that you had her on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
She is like in my head and the specimen of what you should be for a bikini. She's incredible looking. She's like also so poised and so amazing, and she didn't place as well as she did in her show because it just depends who shows up and what the particular judges are looking for that day. Like, they need to have like pictures they're going from or something. Like it kind of depends what the specific judges are looking. You could be with the same group of people, but with different judges and you place completely differently. It's just, I wish there was a little bit more consistency.
And that's one
so
thing.
Does everyone though.
Oh well, yeah, that's another thing too. Where it's like that's what happens when you have like human. I mean, it's like there's got to be like in the future, maybe like 20 or 30 years in the future, where they just have like a machine judge thing where they just like scan your body composition, or they like scan your body and like, oh, this is the most proportioned person. Just that's probably what's going to end up happening. But yeah, it's just one of those things too, where that's the problem with a lot of sports too, because like even like with sports like football or baseball, I mean, there's human error in it, so it's just one of those things where I mean, there are some shows too where you see some of these results and you're like, oh, why did that person not win over that? Especially with women too, where they're always supposed to, you got to look feminine too, while also, which is the huge thing. Because I always like to make the comparison, like if a guy and a girl were driving down the street and we were talking bodybuilding terms, guy, it's an open highway where they can just go as fast as they can. Whereas for women, you have to like weave, you have to like go under underpasses, you have to. It's so much more difficult, which is why I especially like to have the women come on the show, because it's like they have to go through so much. I mean, even with the high heels, I mean, it's like, could you imagine? I would pay so much money to see some of these guys in high heels walk up on the stage. If we could have like a Ronnie Coleman come on stage in like high heels, that would, first of all, that would that would break the internet. But
that'd be amazing. No, it's crazy. For the show day, like I remember my ex-boyfriend competes, and I was like, oh, so like, did you get all your stuff ready for the show? And he's like, yep, I have my suit. And like, that's it. All like little boxers, and that's it. And they're like $20. Girls have to get you pretty much have to get the bedazzled suit. You can't, if you get a plain one, you're going to stand out in a bad way, which is not fair if you don't have like money. And then you have to get the competition jewelry, you have to get the makeup, the hair, or learn how to do it yourself, the heels. You can't just, it's not just about the bodybuilding, but it's really not fair how much more girls really have to do than guys. Oh, it is like half a beauty contest, which is, I wish the guys had to do a little bit more. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. That's one of my big things too. No, that's one of my big things too that I love to stress about is just how much more they have to do. But now going on to, I mean, you are, a certified personal trainer. What are some ways other than Instagram that people could contact you if they wanted, get in touch and maybe, start getting some personal training from you?
So I have, my Instagram is at Muscly Amanda, which is super lame, but something fitness related. So that's like the best way right now. But I also have an email. I can give that to you. It's just my first name dot my last name at gmail.com.
Hey, that's as easy as it gets.
Yeah. So I probably should make a more specific one for personal training, but I've just been using my personal one so far. When it's been working, I haven't had too much overflow with other regular emails. But yeah, so that or I think pretty much just email or the Instagram. Eventually, the Instagram probably my 98. Eventually, I probably will try to cut back if it takes off a little bit more. And I want to do some more in-person stuff. I probably will start doing that and like be in a certain gym or something like that. So I used to teach HIIT classes, so like kind of aerobic style classes too, just for fun. But I definitely eventually want to do more with it because I love being a speech therapist and I love my job, but I don't get as like impassioned and as excited as I am when I'm writing like a meal plan or a workout plan, or when someone actually sends me like a progress picture and they're like, I went down a pant size and I'm so excited. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's a really, really nice feeling. It's really fun.
So now, before we wrap things up, I mean, like I said, I'll leave all of her links down below. Everyone go and give her a follow. But is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to?
Let's see. Well, I'd like to give a shout out to basically every single person that has believed in me and helped me get to this point. So my original coach was named Brooke Dragon. And
Great
she actually
last name.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like perfect for being like a fitness star. Yeah. She actually got her start because she was on MTV Made.
Wow.
And then I went to college with her and she taught, Zumba and all these classes. And I was just, like fangirling out when I met her. And then we actually end up being friends now, which is so cool. She's my first coach that I ever had. She was the girl that got me into bodybuilding, which is, I can't thank her enough. So she's at Bad Girls Bikini Team. So that's my first shout out. My second one, I had a coach after her that helped me do the most recent show. So he helped me do the transformation from bikini to figure, which was, really, really hard. His name is Chase Sellers. He's in Florida. So he was I did it all online. I never met him, not even once. So you can tell how amazing of a coach he must be if he helped me do all of this just through email and text. So
that's
he's
amazing.
At FlowFit Physiques, and everyone should go check him out. He's amazing. All of his girls and men that he trains are
all the boys that
incredible.
He has,
The boys. And I'll do one more shout out because I sadly left Chase just because I wanted to make going to the gym and like having a trainer be a little bit more personal and in person and a little bit more social. So I'm trying to get out there a little bit more now, being single. So I have a new coach. His name's Aaron Day, and he seems really, really awesome so far. We just started like 2 weeks ago, but I'm excited for the future. So there's the past, the most recent past, and then the future of, thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. And I do have to mention, lastly, before we wrap up, you did mention MTV Made. So there was a girl at my high school that was on MTV Made, and they filmed it at my high school. My older brother's on it. He wasn't like, it was just one of those people that they interviewed where the girl wanted to become a beauty queen, and then he got interviewed where they're just like, what do you think if she's going to be a beauty queen? And then he got interviewed, but his speech was so messed up that they had to put subtitles down below because he said it way too fast because I think he was nervous. That's always his claim to fame is that he's been on MTV. So absolutely. But
that's cool. Did you watch the episode?
Oh yeah, we have it. I mean, the episode was probably 9 or 10 years ago. So, but we still have it. We still have it taped. Or no, it was longer than that. That must have been it must have been 11 or so years ago. But yeah, we still have it. We made a copy of it on a DVD, so then we still have it. So just in case and any of his future kids, we can just embarrass him and be like, hey, your dad was on MTV. Come look at this. So yeah, absolutely. So again, you guys go follow Amanda. We highly, highly recommend it. And thank you so much for being on the show. We really, really appreciate it. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Absolutely.